There's a hidden, interconnected biological cascade running right beneath your consciousness this very second. We're going to uncover exactly how the simplest, most everyday objects in our environment are silently reprogramming literally everything about us, from the physical architecture of your brain right down to the speed at which your cells age.
Let's dive straight into this with a question that connects that glowing little screen in your hand directly to your physical longevity. What if a single smartphone notification could actually alter your cellular aging? Now, I know that sounds like total science fiction, right? But as we peel back the layers of human physiology today, you are going to see exactly how this happens.
To answer that, we really have to ask ourselves, what invisible biological forces are shaping the quality of my life every single day? In this explainer, we're going to trace the journey of just one single digital notification as it crashes headfirst into our ancient evolutionary biology. We're going to see how our daily habits rewire the brain, how the brain then hijacks your hormones, and ultimately how those hormones dictate your biological age.
Section 1. The Hijack Neuroscience of Digital Addiction. We're beginning our journey in the brain, where the very first biological domino falls.
Okay, let's fundamentally redefine dopamine. We constantly hear it described as this pleasure chemical that we need to detox from, but honestly, neurobiologically speaking, that is entirely incorrect. Dopamine is actually an evolutionary survival mechanism designed for wanting and anticipation. When your phone buzzes, your brain doesn't feel pleasure. It feels an overwhelming, biologically mandated urge to check.
So what happens when a device in your pocket perfectly exploits this ancient survival pathway, like hundreds of times a day? You get chronic overstimulation. You see, your brain is a highly adaptable system. When it's flooded with continuous dopamine triggers, it actually attempts to protect itself by actively downregulating its own dopamine production. And this leaves us in a massive dopamine deficit, which triggers physical effects that perfectly mirror clinical depression. We're talking low motivation, zero energy, and just a profound inability to focus. And when that deficit sets in, a pretty terrifying neurological shift occurs. Resting state MRI scans reveal this stark structural imbalance. Your salience network, which is basically the brain's alarm system, becomes hyperconnected. It starts vastly overvaluing immediate device cues. Meanwhile, your central executive network, the part responsible for top-down cognitive control, loses its connectivity. You literally lose the neurological power to inhibit your impulses. It's wild.
We're not just talking about a fleeting distraction here. We are talking about actual structural alterations. MRI scans reveal literal gray matter volume loss in regions responsible for empathy, memory, and cognitive control. I mean, the anterior cingulate cortex and the orbitofrontal cortex physically shrink. Plus, researchers are observing this intense imbalance between GABA and glutamate, which are neurochemicals intrinsically tied to severe anxiety. Your environment is literally sculpting your brain's physical architecture. But as we're about to see, the brain is just the first casualty.
Section 2. The Light Paradox. Chronobiology and Circadian Disruption. Let's follow this cascade down from our hijacked neural networks straight into our endocrine system. Deep inside your eyes, you have these specialized cells called iPRGCs. Now, they don't help you see shapes or colors. Instead, they act as primitive biological light detectors. And what's fascinating is that they are maximally sensitive to 480 nanometer blue light, which, you guessed it, is the exact high-energy wavelength violently emitted by the screens we stare at all evening. It's this precise light that triggers our next biological cascade. Picture this. You're sitting in bed at 11 p.m., just scrolling on your phone. Those iPRGCs detect the blue light and fire a signal straight to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is your brain's master clock. Your brain immediately interprets this 11 p.m. light as midday sun. So, it signals your pineal gland to abruptly halt melatonin production. You've just created a severe biological paradox for yourself. You are physically exhausted, but your cellular operating system, it's preparing for high noon. Clinical experiments reveal exactly how this pushes sleep onset further and further into the night. Get this. Participants using amber filters to block blue light fell asleep in about 15 minutes. But unfiltered smartphone users, they took nearly 21 minutes. And pure blue light exposure pushed it way past 26 minutes. This constant delay fractures the deep sleep architecture that you desperately need for memory consolidation and cognitive longevity. Incredibly, research shows that just 2 hours of evening screen time can cause an average 1.1-hour circadian phase delay in your biological clock. Think about that for a second. You are effectively shifting your body's time zone every single night, basically living in a constant state of biological jet lag without ever even leaving your house. Section 3, the silent toll, inflammation, and the stress chain reaction. Now we're going to travel even deeper into the body, revealing how these neurological and circadian disruptions translate into chronic physical damage.
Because a compromised brain and fractured sleep don't just stay isolated, they fundamentally alter your stress biology. The chronic daily accumulation of digital engagement acts as this relentless, low-grade stressor. It essentially locks your HPA axis, that's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, into a permanent state of fight or flight. And it's slowly, silently eroding your nervous system's ability to ever truly just relax. But here is where we see the sheer biological speed of human recovery, and it's amazing. In a clinical trial involving a structured 2-week digital detox, students saw massive systemic drops in major inflammatory and stress markers. Morning cortisol dropped by 18%, interleukin-6 plummeted by 40%, and C-reactive protein, which is a primary driver of accelerated aging, fell by an astonishing 41%, all in just 2 weeks.
This clinical data proves a really vital point. Intentional disconnection isn't just a productivity hack or a way to save time. It's actually a powerful medical intervention. By simply stepping away from that constant overstimulation, you rapidly cool down systemic inflammation. You're restoring your body's autonomic balance and finally pulling yourself out of that chronic low-grade fight or flight state.
Section 4, designing your biological recovery. So how do we actually fix this when, as we've learned, our willpower is literally structurally compromised by the devices themselves?
Well, we have to bypass our fleeting motivation entirely and look to behavioral psychology, specifically Dr. B.J. Fogg's model. Fogg states that behavior equals motivation, ability, and a prompt. It's a simple equation, really. For any habit to occur, all three of these elements absolutely must converge at the exact same moment. And here is the secret to hacking this system. Motivation is a terrible engine for long-term change, simply because it always fluctuates. Some days you have it, some days you don't. But ability, how easy or difficult a task is, that is your most reliable, controllable lever. To win this battle, you must restrict your own ability to access those screens instantaneously. You have to engineer physical friction.
We can systematically dismantle these digital compulsions by directly attacking the traditional cue, action, reward habit loop. First, invert the cue. Make the phone invisible. Disable those alerts or just keep it out of the bedroom entirely. Second, invert the action. Make scrolling physically difficult. Add some friction, like app blockers or insanely complex passwords. And finally, invert the reward. Switch your display to grayscale mode. This instantly kills those dopamine-triggering colors and makes the whole screen entirely unsatisfying to look at.
And in our workflows, we also have to restructure our environment by shifting to asynchronous communication, meaning using tools that don't demand instant real-time responses. You literally relieve your autonomic nervous system from the chronic stress of hyperconnectivity. You're finally granting your brain the biological permission it desperately needs to achieve deep focus. Section 5, the interconnected nature of health. As we wrap up this explainer, we really need to step back and look at the stunning unity of the human machine. Just look at the cascade we've uncovered today. A simple prompt hijacks your brain's salience network. That digital engagement exposes you to blue light, which crashes your circadian clock and suppresses your melatonin. That sleep disruption then locks your HPA axis into a constant fight or flight state, which actually accelerates your cellular aging. But the amazing news is, by simply redesigning your environment, you can reverse that entire chain, cooling the information and completely restoring your autonomic balance. Ultimately, health is not just some collection of separate habits. It is the emergent result of countless, deeply interconnected biological processes occurring inside you every moment of every single day. If every single environmental input is silently reprogramming your cellular future, rewiring your brain, shifting your hormones, and altering how you age, I want to leave you with this final thought. What kind of biological operating system will you choose to design today?